Welcome to the Faith and Trauma Center podcast, a unique approach to exploring the intersections of religion, trauma, sacred spaces, and mental health.
Each month, we choose a different topic to discuss weekly from different perspectives. The first week, we explore the faith, community, and clergy perspective. The second week, the mental health practitioner perspective. The third week, the perspective of individuals working to heal from religious trauma. And the fourth week, we invite a special guest who has been impacted by our monthly topic to join us.
This format follows the design of the Faith and Trauma Center's 3 pathways for resources and education. We invite you to explore all the additional material that we offer at faithandtraumacenter.org.
Let's jump into this week's conversation.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Holly.
Hello.
Welcome to a brand new adventure. You and I have sat behind a microphone together for quite a long time in a lot of different capacities. Most recently, many of you might know that Holly and I led a podcast called the Flip Table Theology Podcast. And we led that with a variety of friends over several years. And we really felt like it was time for a new chapter. New branding for Flip Table Collective, which has a new look and a new name, new podcast, new everything. And so we're really excited to welcome you to the very first Faith and Trauma Center podcast. Yay. So how are you feeling?
Oh, there's so much excitement and energy. And it's like excitement, energy, and also just like this feels, I don't know, we've had this vision for so long for what the heart of Faith and Trauma Center is. It was really truly similar to the Heart Flip Table Collective was. It's taken us a while as we've both been in our own seasons of evolving and growing to kind of just like figure out how this presents itself to the world. And so I feel like this finally feels like, here it is. Like we found it. We found what it wants to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it. So you'll notice a couple of things that are different right away. One of those is traditionally you and I have always recorded an audio only podcast. And we heard from a lot of people in our last season of Flip Table Theology that said, man, I'd really love it if there was a video option too. So we are recording with a video option. So those will be on our website. You'll have the option to watch the video or listen to the audio. You can pick those up wherever you get your podcast and wherever they're normally streaming. Another thing that's going to look and feel a little bit different is these episodes are going to be significantly shorter than our previous episodes were. Typically, Flip Table Theology podcasts were about an hour, sometimes a little bit more because we could really get going. But we're really trying hard. And so we've actually set a timer for ourselves to try to keep these conversations between 30 and 35 minutes so that they are just a little bit more respectful of everyone's time, that you can integrate them into your day and your daily activities a little bit easier. And so that's really important as well. And then the last thing that I think you'll notice is the fact that we're kind of doing something very innovative with our layout. And so, Holly, you want to talk a little bit about kind of how this is going to work in terms of a monthly theme and how those different weeks are going to flow?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's fun to preface this about us and our personalities is that Christy, you tend to be so much more organized than I am. You can cast both like a vision for like, this is what I see this being, and I can see every detail of how to get us there. Lots of spreadsheets happen and exist in your world.
Usually puts you in the fetal position in the corner.
Just a little bit. Because I'm the kind of person that I'm kind of like, how do you feel today? Let's talk about that. Let's process how we feel. And for the heart of wanting to accommodate both, because I think it's important that we still have this like flexibility to say like there's going to be times this is going to shift because the world is it's chaotic. It's chaotic right now. It probably will continue to be chaotic. And there's going to be times we respond to those things and they're going to find their way into conversation. But we also recognize like it feels good to have some order. So we're creating some order. So we're going to record 4 podcasts a month. And those are going to each have kind of there's going to be a rhythm to those. And of those for a month, each month is going to have a theme. So we'll record we'll record the theme for the month, and then they'll fall down into some different oh my gosh, words are not my friend. I'm like struggling with words here.
Pathways.
Pathways is the word. Some different pathways. So our very first conversation each month will be the theme of that month. We will get to a chance to talk about what that looks like in context of faith leaders and clergy. And Christy will lead that conversation as a pastor, and get to really speak into, how does that social justice issue or that theme, that very person related conversation fit into kind of a faith-based conversation. And for those who are leading in that way, the second will be one that I get to lead, and it'll be a little bit more focused on mental health. And it'll be for those working in mental health fields. So not just those that are licensed, but anyone who may exist in the realm of caring for people in mental health. Let's talk a little bit more about it on that kind of a way. And then our
third podcast will be like lived experience.
Right.
So for
that's
people
right.
that have dealt with religious trauma, that are working to heal from religious trauma, that are working to kind of try to regulate and maybe re-enter spaces, or maybe not re-enter at all, that conversation will be centered much more for you and for your experience.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that one, because that's probably my favorite piece that we're going to be doing. And we'll kind of alternate that in leadership, or just kind of share that. And then the fourth one will get to be a really beautiful week that we get to maybe invite in some guests that we do life with, or people that we get a chance to connect with, maybe even some of you who kind of bring in some expertise, bring in some passion, maybe even bring in their own story. So there'll kind of be a rhythm to this. And so maybe it'll give you even a chance to, if one of those pathways connects with you more than others, maybe that may be the one that you kind of put on your calendar and pay attention to, or but anyone can listen to any of them. That's our heart. It's going to be very accessible, but there's going to be more organization for Christy and her wisdom there.
Well, I think one of the things that we really have kind of tried to do in this rebrand. So if you've been with us for a little while, right? Flip Table Collective launched in June of 2024. And I would almost say that Flip Table Collective was a little bit of a trauma dump. And maybe a bit of a trauma reaction for you and I.
It was therapy.
It was therapy. It was very much therapy. We had both, Holly and I, helped to plant a church together. We led a church plant together that we founded in Southwest Missouri. And we both kind of came to the end of that journey at the same time. And I think our hearts were really concerned that there was a lot of information and a lot of practical, information for church ministry innovation and different things like that that might get lost. And we wanted to capture as much of that as we could. And so Flip Table Collective was something that we kind of built really quickly. It was something that I think gave you and I an outlet during a season that we needed to step back a little bit and do some of our own healing work, right? We can't do things if we're not willing, we can't challenge others to do that which we don't do ourselves. And so as we've gone through this year, and people have been connecting to Flip Table Collective, we get a lot of comments and feedback that says, this is fantastic. It is a little overwhelming. Sometimes it is a little hard to navigate because we did have stuff that was in there for pastors, for mental health professionals, for individuals with lived experience, kind of all meshed together. And so really what we've taken the summer to do is to really kind of think about what is the best way to approach this, to reorganize a lot of the same information, but just to make it more accessible. And so you'll notice if you go to faithandtraumacenter.org, which is the new branding for our heart and our mission, to just really kind of try to elevate and catalyze conversations around healing in the church, healing for individuals who've dealt with religious trauma. But a lot of what we've tried to do is to create these pathways for you. And so all throughout the website, you're going to see opportunities for you to choose the pathway that makes the most sense for you to navigate the information from. And so the same is true for our podcast, right? And so you can go to the website and say, I want to navigate this website from the perspective of a faith leader, of a clergy member, of a pastor. And so you're going to click on the clergy and faith pathway, and it's going to take you to its own landing page, right? You're going to get your own resource library. You're going to get your own podcast pathway where you get all of the episodes that apply to clergy and faith leaders. And so we've really kind of tried to hone that in. And then if you're a mental health professional, you get on the mental health professional pathway. Same thing. Holly's built a different resource library. There's a different set of recommended resources. There's different accessibility points, different webinars, different classes. And then there will also be your podcast pathway. And so while we will be recording every week, those will be kind of organized on the website by their appropriate pathway. So for the month of August, as we get ready to launch here, our monthly theme for August is going to be just kind of an overview of religious trauma, right? What is religious trauma? What is the way that you and I, Holly, interpret and teach and talk about religious trauma and approach religious trauma? And so that's our overarching theme for the month. We'll talk about that on our next episode from the clergy and faith perspective. Then the week after that, we will talk about that from the mental health professional pathway and then the lived experience pathway. This first month, we won't have a story because we're doing this introduction episode first, but then we'll have a new theme for the month of September. So I'm really excited about that. Yes, I'm the spreadsheet nerd and the organizational nerd, but I also just want to make sure that all of the things that you and I and our friends and so many people that we've been very blessed to build relationship with, that when they invest into creating a resource, into, hosting a webinar, hosting a conversation, that we make it as easy to find, to connect with, to use as possible.
Absolutely. I feel like if we are, here we are in this new adventure. But if someone's listening who has no idea who we are,
right?
You and I have been friends for 15 years this year, which is crazy to think about. I consider you to be one of my favorite people in my entire life. I'm so honored to get to do life with you. And we've had this crazy journey where we met and we connected and we built lives together around each other, and then we worked together, and we've worked together now in multiple different jobs, and then there's been this huge shift that's happened. So I don't know, I just feel like it would be fun to kind of pause and just
I think we should do each other. I think you should
idea.
Tell people,
who are you?
Let's say 10 things.
Oh, I love that.
So you have to tell people 10 things about me, and I have to do 10 things about you. And we totally did not plan for this. So this is kind of impromptu. So
I love this. I'm going to put my fingers on this.
Okay, so do you want to do all 10 at once, or do we want to
maybe go back and forth? That way it gives us a chance to kind of because you're gonna say something and I'm gonna be like, man, I wish I would have said that in relation to you.
Okay. So you are Holly Madden.
Yeah.
You are I often describe you as one of the most relational people that I know, but I also think I've come to discover it's not just that. I think you are one of the most empathetic people that I know. You have one of the deepest, most caring, sensitive hearts. You are so in tune with the people around you. You're kind of like this emotional barometer in the room. Nobody can hide things from you. Because I'm one that kind of shoves everything down, and you'll be like, what's going on? Or we're big Ted Lasso fans, so you always look at me and say Oklahoma, because you just know, you can always kind of read that and tell that in people. And I absolutely love that about you and your heart.
Thank you. That also means my freeze response is really strong. So when I get overwhelmed, I just kind of hibernate.
You do. That's true. We call it turtling for you.
Turtle,
yes. Yeah, you turtle. We'll talk about that. That'll probably be, maybe that'll be a podcast theme one month.
Christy Love, you have the incredible gifting of holding with you this beautiful, beautiful heart for the church. But this heart for this church for you has never stemmed from, I grew up in the church and this was incredible for me, or that I became a pastor because of how good it was. So much of your passion comes from trauma, religious trauma specifically. And I just have so admired that about you, because I think my passion for religious trauma has been fueled by your encouragement for me to stay in this space of working through it, because so much of my own experiences have been I just want to turn away and I want to move into the next realm and just lay that to rest. And so I love that about you, that you have probably the most purest and radical passion for the church and for faith, but it's not the church in the context that so many people know the church. You believe so deeply in the potential of the church, the prophetic love of the church. And that is so beautiful, because I see you as the pastor that loves to geek out and preach, and our conversations about theology are so much fun because you can talk a million miles a minute when it comes to theology, and at the same time you're thinking of every person in your church or every person around you and the way that may impact them and the way that could be triggering for them. And so it's so personal, and your heart to actually pastor is probably the purest I've ever met.
Mm-hmm. It's really sweet. Okay, we're gonna have to go faster and shorter if we're gonna do 10 of these in our new promise of shorter time. Okay, second thing for you. I think a lot of times you sometimes feel like, man, I don't know if I'm qualified to be in this conversation or at this table, but you are insanely qualified. You have a bachelor's degree in ministry and church leadership. You have a master's degree that's in, give me the title. It's trauma.
It's a human services degree in grief and crisis, or grief and trauma counseling.
Okay, see, that's why I always get it mixed up. And you're finishing a second master's degree right now in clinical counseling. Mm-hmm. And so, in addition to your education, you also have an immense amount of lived experience, which you just kind of spoke to about your own journey in the church, but you have done a ton of frontline work with at-risk kids, with kids in the foster care system, with families that are living in poverty, with people that are dealing with homelessness and addiction and mental health. And so the lens that you bring into these conversations is so incredibly important. And I'm so very, very grateful for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna say for my second one, you have like this crazy ability with your personality to be like, I see a problem, I'm gonna fix it, I'm gonna add a spreadsheet to it, like here's a budget plan, like organized, blunt, here's to the point, Enneagram 3. And at the exact same time, you are such a caretaker and you have just this very personable heart. You're a mom of 4 adults now, which is crazy. I love your children so much. And you've just loved them, and you've inspired me so much in my mothering, and has just taught me so much in how to parent my children well. You also are a dog mom, and I'm going to drop that term because when I met you, you were like nothing to do with dogs except that your husband brought them home. But now you have like pictures of your dogs in your bedroom of them sleeping in your bed, and they're so cute. Do you want to introduce your dogs? I feel like you probably do.
Well, yeah. So I have one super spoiled dog whose name is Teddy, and you may hear him in the background from time to time on our podcast because he's really yappy. And then I have 2 semi-spoiled dogs who are a little bit more diva-esque. Mm-hmm. And so I have Lou, who is a rescue puppy from our street outreach days. And then we have Augie, who I think I've adopted from my kid who decided it wasn't the greatest fit, which is also how I got Teddy. So anyway, yeah, I'm kind of like a dog mom by proxy, but I think I finally
just
have
like
had to
people come to you in their times of need. Now dogs do, and you're like, I will love you forever.
Right? Oh my gosh, that's so very true. So very true. Okay, well, in the same vein, number 3 for you, you have this really fun way of like adopting and trying to save all of the animals and all of the wildlife and all of the things. And so not only do you have 2 spoiled dogs,
yes,
Higgins,
yes,
and Karen,
yes,
but you also regularly send me pictures of muskrats that you have named and birds you have named. And you're like, I'm going to visit my friend so-and-so the muskrat on my trail run today. And I always just think it's hilarious and enchanting because I think you have taught me so much in our friendship and in the ministry work that we've done together about reconnecting with nature. We've had conversations about this where very much like I have gone through my life, the vast majority of my life, incredibly disconnected from the wild world. And it was just kind of there, right? I didn't have a real sense of awe or appreciation for it. I didn't really have a genuine like spiritual connection, especially with animals and with plants and with nature. It was just kind of there. But really through your friendship and watching the world through your eyes, I have learned how to appreciate that more and more. I do not name muskrats or frogs or beavers or turtles or climb trees at the park. I often watch you all climb trees and think to myself, dear God, please do not fall out of the tree. But I always appreciate the way that you kind of have always integrated that into everything that you do.
Thank you. I love that. Third one for me. I'm going fourth one for me. Just kidding. Fourth. I'm going to say that you are an incredible writer, and that comes out in a lot of different ways. But you have also authored a book, God of the Gaps, which is a really beautiful memoir of kind of your experience. It's also here's kind of a guide of if you've had religious trauma and you still find yourself pursuing faith, like this would be the book I would say please read, because it's just so I described it as like it's like a friend. It's like reading it's like friendship. It's just so beautiful. But you're also working on other future projects, which I'm so excited about, and I won't rob you of that chance to share that when the time is right. But
I have a little bit of commitment with those new projects.
I won't say the name of it, but I'm going to put on this podcast that you are working on another project, and I love that, and I love the way you write and the way that you the part of your offering for this world is written.
If I had like a do-over or a mulligan in life, it would totally be to go back in God of the Gaps. Because I love that book. I'm proud of what I wrote, but it definitely represents a season in my deconstruction journey before I really deconstructed gender identity in God. And so that book uses he, him pronouns for God throughout the entire book. And that is the only thing when I go back and look at it, I'm always kind of like a little cringe about that.
Someday there'll be a second edition
published. That's just me acknowledging that in this podcast. Yeah. So, okay. So next thing for you. So you too are a writer, but a lot of people might not know this, but if you listen to this podcast for very long, you're going to discover that Holly is an incredibly gifted poet. You have this way with words. Like I'm much more technical and research-based in my writing. You just use words as art. And it's kind of like paint on a canvas. And the way that you describe things, I'm constantly in awe of that. I listen to amazing poets, like Andrea Gibson and Amanda Gorman. And I just think like, man, how do they even think like that? And then I read your stuff and I'm like, same kind of like brain focus, energy, word, manifestation. It's just beautiful. And I know you're working on projects too. And so if you're going to throw me under the bus, I'm going to throw you under the bus too. And so I'm really excited to see your poetry get out into the world more.
I just need a little bit more organization in my life to actually
I can help with that. We can make a spreadsheet.
Okay, cool. Next, you love coffee. And as
I take a drink.
And over our 15 years of friendship, there was a season there for several years where I did not ever drink coffee and did not want anything to do with coffee. And I now drink coffee because of you. But I also just add, I love it about you because it's not just like, oh, you genuinely love coffee, because you do, but you also like use that as a way to just like build connections with people. It's like, just come to coffee with me. Like I'll invite you over to my house for coffee, or let's meet somewhere for coffee. And I've seen that just be like a bridge you build with people so well. Like it's just like when you say like, let's do coffee, you genuinely mean like, let's sit and share a cup of coffee together and like tell each other's life stories. And I love that about you.
I got you to drink coffee. You got me to drink tea. Some of it.
I got you to like plants.
You did get me to like plants.
Yeah. We should talk about that next.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. I think this is number 6. I may be losing track.
I don't know where we're at.
So. Okay, cool. So number 6, something that you need to know about Holly as you begin to engage in this podcast is that Holly, I was going to say yoga, and it came out as like this mixed thing. You should also know that I'm a little bit dyslexic, and it often comes out in my words, and sometimes they mash together.
Never been called that.
Never been hockey before. That's funny. Anyway, Holly is a certified yoga teacher, trauma-informed yoga teacher, and you are incredibly passionate about yoga and incredibly, I'm going to say yogi because now it's in my head.
Lost it.
Yeah, you are so incredibly passionate and talented at that, and you use that regularly. and integrate that into your therapy work, into your healing practices that you do with people. You lead trauma-informed yoga retreats. You've done grief work with people, just helping to kind of relax and release some of that stored, somatic trauma that we carry in our bodies that I'm sure we'll talk about in future episodes. But that was kind of a dream of yours. And it's something that you really pursued and chased in the last couple of years and got certified in, on top of all the other things that you've been doing and raising kids and writing and all the pieces. And so that's something I'm really proud of you for, because that was a big goal that you went after.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very, I love the word, I love yoga, and it's the traditional roots of yoga, not the Western world. And I always like to emphasize that, because the Western world has just we've made it into a workout, we've made it into this inaccessible thing. And so, yeah, it's very much this beautiful, authentic healing modality and lifestyle. Next about you, because I already mentioned it, plants, because it's going to show up in our podcast all over the place. I obviously my love for like the wild things like came into my home. So I've had plants for a while now and have just loved. And for me, it's been this place of like, oh, it helps my empathy too, because if I need to care for someone and I'm feeling burned out, then I care for my plants, and that gives me this outlet for my empathy. Well, I talked to you a lot about that. And then I would bring you plants, and then slowly those plants would not
Die.
Yeah, they would perish heartbreakingly. And I'd come over and be trying to like nurture them. And a lot of that was just like where your focus was. But you also have this ability to become incredibly hyper focused when you care about something. We both do that. And so when you made
I don't think it's just caring about something. I think it's my Enneagram 3 that I'm like, if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it well.
So well.
And I have to be successful at it.
So in the last year, you and your family have made this tremendous move. I feel like this is maybe 2 in 1. You made this crazy brave adventure to move here to the Pacific Northwest. And moving out here and having to restart over. There's also been a lot of like, I think, loneliness and then time off that you were filling some time with. And so when I got to come visit for the first time, I took you to buy you some plants, because it was like, you need plants for your house. All of a sudden, you guys, like, no kidding, I'm like, I'm gonna point out the easiest plants in the store.
We bought 5 plants.
Easiest plants too. Like, these require light and water, and like you forget to water them and they're gonna be okay. Like, they just like they're resilient. They slowly became 15 plants and 20 plants as you started to buy more plants. And all of a sudden you had a plant app, and this plant app gives you all these details on how to take care of them. You're also spending hours at night like looking at how to care for a plant. So all of a sudden you've got different forms of soil and fertilizer and like all these different systems. Like, and now you have how many plants?
132.
132, all in your plant app, all very detailed on like specific care routines.
I can download them into a spreadsheet.
That might show up on Faith and Trauma someday, the detailed plant care guide. But yes, I love that about you now, though, because people know that about you. Like, people here at your new church will like bring plants to you that are suffering because they're like, this plant is not receiving care at my house, so will you take it? And Christy's like, of course I will. And then I get Snapchat updates on your progress with plants. So
there'll probably be a podcast theme about like plant therapy in the future, because it's a thing and I have benefited from it greatly. So okay, so yes, we're gonna count that as 2, because I moved and I became obsessed with plants. So I had a really good one and now I lost it. So I think one of the things people also need to know about you is that you're also really musical. It doesn't always show up on the podcast, so sometimes this is like a fun Holly fact that people don't get to know, but you play the guitar, you sing, you write music, which was with your poetry.
To play the penny whistle. This is my new.
You do want to move to Ireland and learn to play the penny
dance
whistle.
barefoot in the fields there. Yes.
Yeah, and so I think that's a fun little fact, because you've also, in addition to music, you're also incredibly artistic. You're a painter. You have your own little Etsy shop where you do paintings for people and like honorarium paintings for people. And you just, my office is full of artwork that you've made me over the years. You're just incredibly talented. You did some certification work around art therapy. And so those are also pieces, those kind of creative pieces that I'm sure you'll hear throughout this conversation in the weeks, months, years to come on this podcast, because that's just who you are. You're an incredibly creative person who looks at things and finds creative ways to help people connect with feelings and material in the world.
Thank you. Yes. I feel like I bring my watercolors with me, or I discovered embroidery, and I love embroidering pictures now. And I need a tree to climb, and and now coffee because of your influence. I'm just content.
There you go. Okay.
I had a really good one too, and it just kind of like wandered away from me because I feel like we've got this timer's kind of freaking me out.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just gonna
fair.
name that.
It's
kind
fair.
of freaking
So
me
maybe
out,
we
but
each think of one more.
yes. There's so much to talk about you. I love you.
I love you too. I'm excited to be in this podcast and
Yes.
to have a new season and a new chapter together. Fun fact, my husband and I match made you and your husband.
Yes, you did.
And my husband and I get to serve as surrogate aunt and uncle to your sweet kiddos who I love and adore, and vice versa. Your aunt and uncle to my 4 adult kiddos. So, yeah, we do a lot of life together.
I also feel like we get to spend a lot of time, like, and this is a rant for another podcast, but like the US, especially in Western culture, we're so like individualized, and we need to bring back like that village concept. And I think that it's been really beautiful to get that chance because like my daughter, Eliana is 7 and almost 8. Oh my gosh. And like you are the person she looks up to most in this world. And also personality types are a lot more similar than her and I are.
Just wait till I teach her how to use Excel.
I know, right? We're just waiting for that. There's a lot of times Ellie will be like, Mom, Aunt Christy taught me how to do this. And I'm like, I'm so glad because she gets you in those ways. And so I love that about us is we've gotten a chance to connect with each other's kids and just kind of been that like place. But yeah. I think I want to just share a little bit briefly more about like your move because I mentioned that and I know that it'll come up in podcasts too, but you are not only a pastor with a high academic reach, and that'll come out in podcasts and a lot of your stuff. Language is not my friend. So you're a reverend. I agree with disciples of Christ. This is true. You are a reverend through I was going to say certified, but it's not certifications in the faith world, but through the Disciples of Christ ordination. Yeah. Denomination. You are ordained the denomination Disciples of Christ. Clearly, I'm not in that field, you guys. But you also are like your heart as a pastor is like pastor advocate, and they don't separate. And like your heart for advocacy is huge. And if you followed Flip Table, I know that we've shared that some of the trauma of the last year that we've walked through with walking away from our church plant, and then so much of how just the weight of that on us both and the way that has been different, but also you navigate a lot of health dynamics. And I think that that's important to name too, because sometimes I think people don't find people accessible, like, or relatable, like, oh, you can't imagine, and you live with a lot of barriers. And I've walked you through with so much of that. And I think those things in hand brought you to this really powerful place of wanting to make this huge life transition, this incredibly brave transition, moving to the Pacific Northwest, also a place we've both always wanted to live. But seeing you be willing to take a job that was, I think, a little bit wild for you to imagine taking at that time, and just what we were doing was so inspiring to watch, and just the courage to say, like, we're literally everything we have. We're just, we don't have enough money in the bank. We don't this is literally starting from square one to come out here, but then watching you thrive out here, build community, and we are following in your footsteps. You are. I'm super excited about that. We've got to navigate one more year where you're in Missouri and I'm in Washington, and then you guys are moving out here to be closer, and we'll be able to record stuff in person. So if you're watching the video version of this podcast, we're sitting next to each other right now because you're here on vacation. And we've been doing a month-long intensive of building Faith and Trauma Center's new website and all of those pieces. And so now we'll be recording separately. So you'll see our screens on Zoom for a while and then back together. So I think the other thing really quickly that I want to make sure we mention about you too, because we've named my Enneagram type numerous times and it will always show through. But you as an Enneagram 9,
And that's kind of been a new realization for you.
Mhm.
We should probably also say I was certified as an Enneagram trainer a few years ago because you and I both really like to nerd out about the Enneagram.
So this is a fun game we play. It's
It
like
is.
anywhere we go, because you've imparted so much of your knowledge from that training on me. We'll be like talking to someone, and then Christy will be like, which Enneagram do you think they are?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I don't know. What do you think? And you're like, this.
Right. Which you're not supposed to type other people. So don't
Those are private conversations.
those are private between the two of us.
Those come
But
out later when you're like talking to that person then, and you're like, here's the Enneagram, and then you like love them into figuring out what they are. But
so anyway, but you as a 9 definitely have been like a grounding presence in my life. You are someone that brings a lot of perspective. You have a much more holistic view on things sometimes than I do, where I kind of come in very much with like a to-do list and an agenda and a spreadsheet and all the things. And you're usually kind of giving the wider picture to that. So I appreciate that. You and I work really well together. Our personalities complement each other really, really well. And so once again, I'm really excited to be diving into this new chapter with you. So I hope that this helps you get to know us just a little bit more. Oh, see, there's our timer, Holly.
it plays music. That's why.
It does play music. Okay, so now we're on borrowed time. See, we're trying to honor your time. So I think
Look at us grow.
Look at us grow, right? I'm plants and dogs and timers. Like, what's happening? Oh my. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited to dive in. And so I hope that you will take time to visit faithandtraumacenter.org. Check out all that we have laid out there. Some of the different things. We've got some really cool upcoming webinars that we'll be talking about. We're going to be revamping and coming back to social media. That's a whole nother podcast episode because there's been
Once
a lot
we
of
figure
trauma.
that out. Once we figure out what we're doing with that.
But we're coming back. We promise it'll be there. So yeah. So let's do this.
Yes. And we're going to make a email address right now, right after this. All that to say, though, I think our hope too is as you engage, if there are things that you would like, oh, I would be curious to hear more about this, or like, I see this as a gap. Like, we just want to be accessible. We want to be personable. I think even part of the video, it makes it fun when you just feel like you're just more connected with people through that kind of stuff. So yeah, as we figure some of those pieces out, like, please connect with us. We would love to just get a chance to hear what's on your heart too, and your experiences and all this stuff.
Absolutely. So join us as we dive into this first month's theme. We're going to be talking about religious trauma kind of as an overview, and we'll go from there. So we'll see you guys in the next episode.